So tell me, on a scale of 1 to duck face, how powerful does that make you feel?
Duck face, obviously. Got that on camera, so
That's
I can't say anything about that.
Well played.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and you're watching Brian's Mobile 1. I drive a Mazda 3. Every time I drive my car, every time I turn to the left, my passenger side front tire likes to shake really bad. It's really scary. I feel like I'm gonna die sometimes. So today we're here to fix the ball joint and control arm. This is the ball joint that failed. We're gonna pull the wheel off to get to the ball joint.
So do you spend a lot of time pulling wheels off of cars?
Sometimes.
So what do you think of the Milwaukee fuel? Yeah.
Oh, Milwaukee fuel. This is a lifesaver. Very handy.
How much do you weigh, by the way?
I weigh 110.
110.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was it to take those lug nuts off?
Not hard at all. It felt like nothing.
Let's go up. Keep going. I think that should be good. How about I hold the nut and you can hit that?
Okay.
You gotta keep pushed into it. There you go. Yeah, just let it back out as you're doing it.
Woo.
If you just back up slowly, it'll come out. I told you to push in, but then as you're pulling it out, you have to get it to, there you go.
Hey. Nice.
That's not easy to do. Good job.
Thank you.
Nailed it. So how hard is this so far? Has it been pretty easy compared to what you thought, or has it been harder?
This is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I was all, oh boy, here we go.
Well, good. Do keep some pressure against.
I was trying. Right.
It's okay.
One more time. Okay, well.
There you go. So we've got the bolt out of the ball joint part, and we've also pulled the bolts from the backside bushing. But we still have this one to go. With a lot of control arms, you have to remove the stabilizer link, and basically what this part does is it stabilizes the car if you're getting on or off the freeway at high speed on a curve. But this one, instead of attaching to the control arm, attaches to the upper control arm, which in this case is a McPherson strut. We don't have to worry about that, and it makes this job a whole lot easier, because if you've done these, you know that they get pretty rusted and can be a little difficult. So the only other thing we need to do is pry this apart, pry this out, and get this bolt out. The challenges that this one poses is that it's right next to the AC compressor. Next step, you need to get a 19mm wrench and get that bolt worked loose. How in the world are you going to get that giant bolt loose? Will that fit on it?
No.
No? We'll need another trick. Let's see what we can come up with.
And then it goes on that way, right?
Flip it around the other way, because it's got to be exact. Yep. It has to be exactly in line. If you're a little bit to one side or the other side, here it'll slip around. Here it'll slip around, but if you have it right in the middle, then it's going to work. But you have to stay centered. So what we're doing is we're making the wrench longer. So go ahead and lean into that. Let's get your safety glasses back on first too. Safety first. Lean into it. Like I was telling her, if you have a wrench brake, it's going to go in the same plane of rotation as your wrenches are. So if you're a little bit to the left or right of that, then it gives you some safety. So let's see your biceps. Let's flex it up here for a minute. That's intimidating. So, but you handled that like a champ. That was not a problem. That was a pretty rusted bolt. You can see that that's been in there since 2006. Nobody's touched it. And you handled it like a champ. Good job. All right, let's do another tool. We're going to showcase some stuff for you guys so that you know all the fun tricks and all the fun tools. So we're using a gear wrench. This one has the switch on it. It's beveled on one end and it's a combination or spanner on the other. For this one, you just keep cranking on it until you get there. The hard part's breaking it free. We already did that. And so now we're just turning it out. Again, the links for all the tools. If you click on the link, it doesn't cost you anything extra. It saves you time to find exactly what we're talking about. It gives us a little bit of a kickback. I get just pennies per order, but when people do it, it adds up. So we appreciate your support for the channel. So we have a little bit of conflict here between the wrench and the AC line. So we're just going to spin it back in by hand. or with the wrench until we can get the wrench out, and then we'll spin out the rest by hand. So the nice thing about the wrenches with a switch is you can switch directions. So if you back up into a corner or paint yourself into a corner with a pipe or something like that, you can still get it off, where the unidirectional ones that you flip around, you wouldn't be able to do that. Who discovered the problem, you or me? You did. Ashley got it. Good job. Once you get it out so far, you can turn it by hand, and we're going to see how far we can get it. If we can get it to get past that, that's great, but otherwise we'll need to do some other things. So we're going to try lowering the subframe. Go ahead. Put it down just a little bit and make sure I've got 4 or 5 threads in it, and that way it can't fall. We already have another bolt here. That's why I didn't helicopter supervise that. This is really rusted because it's in the wheel well where all the splashing and puddles happen with the tire. So we're going to try pulling the guard off. When you're into a car, every car's a little bit different, and there's always a way to get it done. So we're just going to try to pull the cover off and see if that gives us the access that we need. Get this out since the cover sticks out to meet it. That happened fast.
It just went.
One of them's missing.
I was going to say there's no one there.
That's custom.
Hey.
1 in a million. Then there's one on the back side.
Just this one?
Uh-huh. Nailed it. And then that should just pull down like that. And it's been through the dealership quieting process because it's got rubber on both sides of it. Apparently it made some noise. Everybody hits these on speed bumps and curbs and stuff, and then they vibrate and make noise. Sometimes they'll break the compressor and you get a leak. Not the best design to put the compressor that low on the engine below the oil pan. It works for Mazda. Why not? If you've ever seen me take apart any kind of ball joint or tie rod end, you've probably seen me do this. Knocking on it breaks the rust, and that little bit of shock can make all the difference to help things to want to come undone. This has so much play in the bottom part of the ball joint though that it's still stuck in there. Let's spray it. Let's see if we can get a little transmission fluid to loosen it up. Alright, so I'm going to come around from the back side, see if we can get a little double pry bar action going on. See if I can make it wider and you can pry down on it. You got all 110 pounds on that. Man, that is stuck. Getting a little bit mashed-o'd. If I were me, what would I do? Everybody comes to me when there's problems like this. So we've turned the wheel so that we get a little bit better access to the opening. You can see that there's a split there. What we're trying to do, we've already banged on this. We're going to have to clean that out with a drill bit. We're trying to get that to spread out a little bit. So Ashley has a chisel in one hand, and we look at the side of the profile of it. It's not sharp, it's not a cutting chisel, it's just kind of to spread with. So you can see how she is expertly bracing the chisel against the control arm and just kind of knocking it in there. Ashley's got the big old IBIS. We'll put a link in the description for that too. It's just an indexing pry bar. And we let that soak, and I wrapped on it pretty hard. I cheated a little bit. We're gonna have Ashley pry on that and we'll see what happens. So expect it to just kind of let go. There you go. Play. You see how the ball joint separates right there first, and then the rest of it pulls out. You can see from the top, it used to be in the top here, and it just kind of slipped to the bottom there. What our goal is because all of this is undone and this is undone, sometimes you can cheat a little bit and get the angle to change to where you can get the bolt out. Did you think we were going to get it or not?
No.
That's kind of hard, but
I did not.
we got it. So how did we get that? We used
A lot of luck.
we used a lot of luck. We used chemicals. We used some transmission fluid because it's got cleaners in it.
This bad boy right
And we used that guy right there.
Pop that sucker
Popped
off.
it. Little hammer work. The dents demonstrate that. But sometimes you have to try different things. Our first thing that we tried was just hitting it from the side with the hammer and prying it. The bottom line is if something isn't working, try something new. You gotta keep trying different things. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So change it up, be creative. What we're doing, we can't get the bolt to go any further without hitting the air conditioning lines. But what we can do is almost have a straight shot to make this come down that way. So that's what we're kind of doing. All right, go ahead and give that a yank. You can see we've got our bolt in there. We did some penetrating oil. And then just wiggle and pull, wiggle and pull. That's right. Give it a good yank down towards you.
Nice.
Did you know you could do that?
No.
Did you just do that? Was that totally just you?
Yes.
There
No.
you go.
Yes.
Well, it was.
Yes.
It came undone and then I stuck it back and we had to do it over again for the shot. But you did it. Good job.
Out with the old, in with the new.
Let's do it. One of the best parts about steel is it is malleable. It's a little bit like Play-Doh, but that requires a little bit of cleanup sometimes. So go ahead and pull back. We look in there and that looks like the bolt will pass just fine. This part here is sticking out a little bit, so we're going to file that flat so that we can get a good torque set on that. One of the nice things here is you've seen in recent videos where we've got stuck bolts that are stuck in the bushings and we've had to cut them out. A lot of the newer control arms are starting to come with bolts, so we love that. We're going to take this bolt, go ahead and spin the nut off and see if that'll fit in there. Is that going to fit? We're going to need to step up to a bigger drill bit, huh?
Yep.
We really banged on that, and by we I feel like I kind of wailed on it. Moving on, onward and upward. So you can see the drill bit won't fit all the way through. Go ahead and pull that out. So that's just the back end. That's how I test for size and fit. You don't want to do everything all in one go. If you have a drill index or something like that where you can step it up and go in little increments, it makes the job way easier. Step 2. So you just want to bump it. You keep that thing spinning fast and then just bump it up against the obstruction, and before you know it, you're through. Alright, so we're almost making it, but we do need to clean it out just a little bit more. If we were to hit that with the impact gun, it would probably just cruise through and get where it needs to be. But we're going to work a little cleaner than that. We're going to clean it with a drill. In process of getting this to come undone, we caused a little bit of damage. There's a burr on the top here, and a little bit here. We did a test with the new Milwaukee Fuel angle grinder. This is the 4.5 inch, and it's been used for the first time. It's got the DeWalt flap discs. Those are my favorite. Sorry, Milwaukee, I love you, but DeWalt makes a good flap disc. So anyway, we're gonna clean this up a little bit. We're gonna have Ashley go to work with it. Angle grinders are one of the most dangerous tools in the shop, but when you put a computer on it, are you loving this? Is this exciting?
Wow.
These things really tame it down so you don't have that initial torque when it spins up. Go ahead and show them the initial spin up. See how clean that is? And when it stops, it doesn't jerk the other way. So, have you ever used one of those before?
No.
Are you up for it?
Yes.
Alright, so maintain a good grip on it. We've got a guard on this. I'm gonna leave the guard on this one. But we're gonna have you just clean up this face and then on the top right here. Alright, let's see what happens. Let's have you do a little bit from this side. Can you feel the little bump on the top there?
Yep.
That one doesn't really have to go, but it's fun. Tool time. Looks good. Was that as terrifying as I made it out to be? Not at all, huh? It's amazing what they've done with these new tools. Sweet, good job. All right, what's next? What's next?
New part!
Sweet. Look at that. This has a nicer paint job than your whole car.
Oh, I know.
You know. You got some like racing stripes going on there, some like speed lines. It looks like like on comic books when they're showing that something's action packed. It's got it going on.
Got a little Lightning McQueen going on.
Heck yeah. Alright, so the way that it came out last is that we angled it with the bolts. That's the first thing we want to do. But before we do that, we're going to put a little silicone paste, and that just makes things go a little smoother. So we're going to take a little silicone paste, the Lube of Champions. We're going to do the outside so that it can make the corner, and we're going to do the inside so that the rusty old bolt that we're going to be reusing, primarily because it's trapped, so that it can get in through there, and then do the other side also. It's a big part, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so sorry.
I'll manage. Sweet. And then I would do, you wouldn't have to do this, but I'd do a little bit on these, and that'll just help prevent rust and help that to get into place since we're going to be rustling that. Go ahead. And then also on the part that was so rusted before, because this is rusted enough it's not going to want to take the new part in. Normally I don't do this, but it's been a little bit hard, and we're trying to come up with things that make things easier if you are half what I weigh.
And then you said
the whole point is girls can do this too, right? So,
yes.
Yep. So these are the tricks of the trade that help to make that easier. Very nice. All right, go fight win. Let's see if you can get that thing stabbed up in there. Are you nervous?
Are you trying? I don't even know how this goes on. I'm all looking at it like.
So this is extra. You want to get rid of that now.
This?
That's just to protect it during shipping. Ooh. Do you want another glove?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Oh boy.
All right, so as you may recall, this bolt won't clear because it's hitting against the AC compressor. So what we did is we angled it up here and then get it to stab there. And then once it's to that point, you just kind of twist and wiggle it till it's about yay. You don't want to come so far that you block it on the other side. Go ahead and lift up a little bit on your right side. But just about to there. Go ahead and rotate that in. Push hard. You watch this bolt back here is what you do. You got to make sure that it gets below the line. The AC doesn't work on this car, as you said, but we don't want to damage anything that we don't have to. We'll get the plastic out of the way for filming, but you just want to get that to rotate to where it gets up into the spot where it lives. So this side needs to go up. Make that go higher. Make it go higher, and then what that does is it makes the bolt go lower.
Wow. It was.
That's right. We want to get the bolt to go in. Let's relax it just a little. The struggle is real, but we'll get through it. It happens. So go ahead and rotate that up like that. And then pull this one that way. There you go. That's why we put the silicone on, because there's a lot of friction, right?
Yeah.
So then these just need to go up over the thing here. This is the subframe for the engine and transmission. Dude, you just did that by hand. I was going to give you a hammer. Good job. So go ahead and give that the old-fashioned love tap, which means to hit passionately. If you have to think angry thoughts, that's part of the game.
What side do you want me to hit it on?
The soft side usually works best for that. Is it going? Lots of follow through. Lean into it. See, it's working. Getting it. So that is close enough that we might be able to get the bolt to go in. So let's see if we can get this to start threads, and once that's in, then we can stab the steering knuckle together. Yeah. It's all good. Cool. So what I do with an open end like that is I'll push into it and then turn it at the same time. And remember, if those threads are not engaged, you're not going anywhere. So you got to make sure that you get them started, and then you don't have to push in so hard. So I'm going to lean on this just a little bit while you do that. Try to pull it back, like just grab it with your fingers, see if it'll pull back. Oh. So we don't have any threads started yet.
Dang. I'm so excited.
Yeah. As we said, the struggle's real. It can be really frustrating if you're cranking on it for a long time and it's not going anywhere. Yeah. So we just tested a little bit and wiggle and push and do what you can to get the thread started. That's a hard part. Once it's in, then you can just keep cranking with your wrench. Anyway, we're just pulling back and forth on the arm itself like it's a pry bar. Here's a trick. You can take a big fat screwdriver, stick it in there. You don't want to stick it in so far that it's in the threads, but you can kind of put it in there and pry from the inside. Don't worry about this one for a minute, just worry about that one. So pry on this side and get this one so that it's happy. All right, so you just got to rotate this so that it gets the nuts over the top of it. It's easy to tell whose hand is who now.
Hi.
So you're not into the gloves. The gloves weren't working. I think it helps if you have the right size, but I think with nails it makes it a little difficult too.
Yeah.
So just get some spin going on with that. Looking good. So we were having a really hard time getting this to line up, and if it won't line up and you line something else up, then oftentimes finding that angle makes the other angle happen. Perfect. All right, so now we'll circle back to this guy, getting the steering knuckle out of the way and having this be in this position. It might just even go by hand. So we're gonna see if it'll just thread in now that we've got the other bolts in, and most likely it will. But if it doesn't, then we'll work on torquing it and twisting it a little bit with a pry bar.
Well, I mean, it's not pulling out for me, but I might just not be pulling hard enough. Oh, okay, no. I wasn't
All right. So what I like to do is I like to push really hard. Did you hear that? Did you see what that did? So I put my hand on it and just kind of shove it at the same time I'm turning it. And oftentimes that'll get it to get over. Oh, it just went back. It just came back out. I need to maintain that a little bit. I was leaning into it, just using my body weight. Fortunately, I just had some really delicious pulled pork, and I've got a couple extra pounds on me for making it happen. Shout out to Jeff Willems. Guy's amazing with a smoker. You've seen Jeff on the channel. We did the CV axle video on the Textron or whatever, who does the side-by-side. So if you go fast, you can see if you're making headway or not. So we'll switch back, give that to you. So how did I overcome that? Just pop quiz. How did I, why did, yep.
Pressure.
Pressure. Shove it while you turn it. So how much of this job have you done and how much have I done?
50-50. I'm just kidding.
That much?
75-25.
I don't know about that.
That's what
I step in for some of the hard things, but by and large she's done most of the getting things where they need to be. So when you're installing a control arm, it can affect the ride height. So you want to match whatever these are, but because these are worn, they're going to hang down. This is already clocked to a certain position, but normally you want the wheels on the ground on an alignment rack by the time you tighten this one. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave it in this kind of position about right here so that it matches the other one, and then we're going to tighten that all the way. If you have this down when you tighten this, you just got a free lift kit, 1/2-inch lift on the right side only. So that's what we want, right?
Yes.
Sweet. But when you're tightening a bushing like this, you got to remember that it's only gripping the inside, and then the rubber works like a spring. So you want to get that angle where you want it before you tighten that one. So you see this is tapered along the top. The better you can cover that with silicone, the easier your life is for the couple seconds that you're putting it in. Okay, go ahead and pull down and let it up. Go ahead, just let it go in. Just give it a little wiggle. Ta-dun! So we want to put it in from this side and have it stick out the other. Let's see if that'll fit through. We've done a lot to bang the crap out of that, and then we did a lot to make it happy. That was nice.
That was easy.
It's a good fit. Look at those fingernails. Beautiful.
Why am I working on a car with these?
Now you just need some high heels and then you'll be able to reach everything.
I'm just kidding. High heels are great. I just don't wear those.
Yeah, it's all good. Is it a 15?
What's going on?
When we get a new
Yeah, it might be a
fastener, it
15.
could be another size. If something's not working, what do we do?
Try with something
Try
else.
something else. Sage advice. I didn't come up with it, but I just run with it. Okay, ready? Is it looking good? Couple of ugga-duggas, huh?
Nice.
That's the downside about the electric ones, is that they're amazing. So they're phasing out the ugga-dugga impacts of the pneumatic.
What is that?
Pneumatic means that you have to use the air compressor. So the air compressor ones have like a rotary air hammer that's like ugga-dugga-dugga-dugga-dugga-dugga. It sounds different. It's kind of a romance with the old school. It's like typewriter noises. You kind of get to like them, I suppose. All right, you want to hold that one more time? Actually, it might just hold. There we go.
Was that the last thing besides the tire?
I think so. So we got to double check first. So yep, we've got those to do. So it's easy to forget because you get the drama, you get the thrill and the challenge of rusted stuff, you get swinging hammers, and it's easy to forget. That's why I always like to take a minute and double check. It's a good habit for aspiring mechanics.
it gonna spin the right way? Nope. Wait, that was the way I wanted it to spin, huh?
You got it. You're learning. Awesome. Good job. When it's just right, it just goes though, doesn't it? There you go. So tell me, on a scale of 1 to duck face, how powerful does that make you feel?
Duck face,
Duck
obviously.
face.
Got that on camera, so
That's
I
awesome.
can't say anything about that.
Well played. Have you ever done this before? Let's give it a go. See what happens. Just push. Oh, you did it.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
And then I just press?
And you can hold that with 2 hands now if you like. Let's aim it down just a little bit. The more straight it is, the better it gets the grease in the ball joint instead of everywhere else. You want to watch the boot, the blue part, and if it starts to inflate a little bit, you're done. If you go too far, it can blow those rings off, and then water can get in. There you go.
And you don't want, or you want the blue thing to inflate a little bit?
Yep, you just want to see it move a little bit. If it's moving into that boot, then you're good. Okay, you're good. Yep, that just springy a little, you know, it's like a water balloon or something. It has a little something something inside. Cool. Cool, so what else do we need to do?
Put this bad boy on.
They
It's a skid plate.
That's right. They put the air conditioning compressor in the most vulnerable part of the whole car because it's so cheap and easy to fix. Oh wait, no, that's expensive and a lot of labor. Why did they do that? I don't know, because Mazda, that's why.
Do I need this other rubber piece or?
Yep, sandwich it up. That helps absorb the speed
here?
bumps. Yep.
Yep. Oh yeah, because that one obviously can't go anymore.
I didn't take it off. I'll have to ask the person that did.
Did I take it off? I don't remember.
You know you're having a good time when you can't remember what you did, right? All right, there you go.
Oh yeah, I did. I remember.
So try to get it really straight up and down, and you get the best result. There you go. Good. If you go too long and hard, you can snap them off.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think I've seen that happen before with my dad.
Good. Perfect. Hey, found it. Good job. No hesitation. That's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yep.
So the dollar value of what you just did today, what do you think that is?
I was
200 or
thinking
300?
more
I was
like.
gonna say like 3.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking, but it's okay.
So would you rather pay $300 or would you rather do what you just did?
I'd rather just fix it myself.
It's a good feeling, huh?
Honestly, I feel like it's just more fun to fix it anyway.
Yes, I agree, 100%. All right, should we put your wheel back on?
Yep.
Let's do it. So is there anything important we should remember when we put those on and tighten them down? Star pattern?
Yeah.
So have you ever put a pickle lid on a pickle jar and it's crooked and it feels tight, but it'll leak everywhere if you turn it sideways?
Mm-hmm.
These are the same way, but instead of spilled pickle juice, it's spilled car parts and occupants, like if the wheel comes off.
Story of my life. I'm just kidding.
Sounds exciting. So anyway, if you put the bottom one in first, you'll notice at the bottom part, you see where Malcolm's holding it on? That's the part that wants to kick out. So I always put the bottom one on first, and then I don't have to babysit it anymore. All right, so we've got the bottom one in first, and then the other ones, it doesn't matter at this point, but when you tighten them down, you want to make sure that you go in the star pattern, which just basically is opposite, so it tightens on flat. That's good. We're going to go back to the first two that you do. So which one did you do first? Touch it?
This one.
And then second?
This one.
And now?
This one.
Cool. And then we go back and repeat how many?
The first two.
See if that moves a little. Tell me if it does.
Not much.
Not much, but a little bit?
Yeah.
Cool. So this one, second one probably won't move at all. Nice. So then we'll go to the ground and we'll tighten them by hand just to make sure. We're tightening it by hand. We like to start at the bottom just out of habit because you tighten the bottom and things don't move as much. And then you just go the opposites. And you'll notice that she's got it out to the right and high like a champ so that you can use all 110 pounds. Eat your heart out, girls, to tighten the lug nuts down. And you'll notice, yep, star pattern. We have a quick study among us, and her name is Ashley.
Quick study, you can't get this one. Alright.
Trust me, the internet will abuse you just fine. You don't even have to say mean things. They'll do it for you. It's so convenient.
I'm trying to fix a car with nails on. I'm about to get roasted. Which one have I done these?
Roasted or cheered on? I would cheer you on. I think it's great. All the more power. So what happens if the socket's not on all the way and you lean into it with all your weight? Face down. Ooh, that could be bad. So yeah, just make sure that you wiggle it, make sure it's in all the way. It's not.
What?
It's not moving.
It doesn't move. That's good because it was moving before.
On its own, even when you didn't want it to. What do you like to have in steering? Do you like to have a lot of play or rock solid?
No, you want rock solid.
It's satisfying. Wait till you drive this. It's
No
gonna
more
be
playing for this big boy.
Heck yeah.
I'm excited to drive this actually.
Cool. So the steering system, one of the reasons why we jumped on this today is the steering system is the most important safety system on your car. Everybody says brakes, so if you ask them what's the most important system on your car, it is not the brakes. If the brakes go out, you have an emergency brake, so you got redundancy, but you can also aim for something cheap. You can aim for a bush, you can aim uphill, you can aim for mud or runaway truck lane, but when it comes to steering, if your steering comes undone, you have no directional control. You have no choice what you hit. Your car just goes for it, and it's not something that you'll expect when it comes undone. So if you want to spend money on a car, I always say the best place to spend money, you think I'm going to say steering, I'm not. It's tires. Because tires are the first part of your steering system. Your steering system's no good if you can't translate that to the ground through your tires. So, well, that'd be a lesson to you. Ha!
Yeah. I fixed my car. I switched out the ball joint and the steering arm.
Lower control arm.
Lower control arm. I did that
I
last
didn't
time,
remember
too.
it the first one I did either, so no worries. So, what advice would you give to somebody if they're thinking about fixing their car, they're not sure? Should they just tackle it on their own? Should they phone a friend?
You should look up Brian's Mobile One and see if he has the video for you, because otherwise it's going to be difficult.
What are some of the things that we did that made this job easier?
The stuff that helped make the silicone.
Right? What about fasteners that require a lot of muscle that you were able to tackle? How did we get around that? There's two things that we did.
Leverage.
Leverage is a big one.
And
Money.
money.
Just buy expensive machine, buy Milwaukee fuel stuff,
Yes.
right? There you go. Well, that was fun. Nice job.
Thank
Pound
you.
it.
Subscribe and ring the bell for Brian's Mobile One.